Council March 22nd meeting. Please call the roll.
Hanson,
Here.
Miller,
Here.
Wojciechowski,
Here.
Erickson,
Here.
Ford, Mugerauer,
Here.
Palmieri,
Here.
6 present.
And Council Member Hanson will lead us in the invocation, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
We are mindful of the blessings of liberty that have been in this nation. May our decisions tonight improve the quality of life in our city and for our residents.
Looks like we have an introduction this evening of new staff.
Thank you, council members. Tonight, we're here to introduce Jeff Whitty. Jeff is our new principal planner for the city of Oshkosh. He graduated from the University of Wisconsin GB with a degree in urban studies, and he worked for 28 years at the United Nations as a community development planner. His most recent job was working for Delires Construction in De Pere, and he also taught at the Environmental Design Studio for UWGB. Jeffrey's coming with us primarily to be working on our housing-related initiatives, really with our housing study coming online here, hopefully with approval tonight, our community development block grant programming, and our Healthy Neighborhoods initiative program. We felt it was important to bring somebody in with a lot of background in housing-related activities. So Jeffrey joined us about a month ago and is going to be working, like I said, on those housing activities here for the city.
Welcome.
Welcome.
And this evening, do we have any citizen statements for council?
No one is registered under citizen statements.
All right, very good. We'll move on to consent agenda.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any discussion on consent items? All right, please call the roll.
Hanson,
Aye.
Miller,
Aye.
Wojciechowski,
Aye.
Erickson,
Aye.
Mugerauer,
Aye.
Palmieri,
Aye.
carried 6-0.
All right, we have one new ordinance this evening. There will be no action on this item. Ordinance 22-130, prohibit on-street parking on West 6th Avenue, south side from 170 feet west of Michigan Street to 230 feet west of Michigan Street. Again, there's no action on this item. It will be back at council on the next agenda. We have pending ordinance 22-131, approve zone change from Riverfront Mixed Use District and Riverfront Mixed Use District Riverfront Overlay to Riverfront Mixed Use District with a planned development overlay for properties located on the east side of South Main Street. Plan Commission recommends approval. Do we have a motion and a second, please?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion on 22-131? Mr. Lyons, can you just give a brief explanation of the change to the plan development overlay here?
Yep, so this is part of the Sawdust District that the Redevelopment Authority had put out an RFP for on previously, and a developer was selected to move forward with that project. As we've worked through the project, it became aware that we needed to add a plan development overlay, as this is a very unique area. And meeting both the Sawdust District Master Plan and our zoning ordinance, we're going to necessitate the need for that plan development. That way we could work through the unique nature of the site and really the type of development we haven't seen a lot of here in Oshkosh.
Thank you. Any other comments or discussion? Please call the roll.
Hanson,
Aye.
Miller,
Aye.
Wojciechowski,
Aye.
Erickson,
Aye.
Mugerauer,
Aye.
Palmieri,
Aye.
carried 6-0.
All right, we have several new resolutions. 22-132, amend 2023 capital improvement program.
So moved.
Second. Discussion. Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Actually, this one's, I think City Manager Roloff can probably handle answering this one. Just so you can give a little background, I think we talked about this a little bit last meeting because we had some consultant work that we authorized. But if you wouldn't mind just letting the public know why we're adjusting the CIP and how these particular projects floated to the top as to why they're getting done,
Yeah,
possibly.
I'd be happy to, and Mr. Robbie is going to rescue me in case my memory from the last time. But this has to do with the bipartisan infrastructure law projects that we talked about last time. There were a couple, based on your question, that staff followed up on, and there were a couple that were not in the CIP, and we felt it was competitively better for us to add them to the CIP. As I talked about the advantages of having them there, and then discovered we had a few of them that weren't in there.
Yeah, as was discussed at the last meeting, these were projects that were certainly on our radar, but, due to the, the funding considerations that we work through annually, they just had not made it into the CIP yet. So as we were talking in follow-up, certainly, through the bipartisan infrastructure law, if we're able to get state and federal funding for 80% of these projects, well, that certainly changes our fiscal impact. So we felt it was certainly very advantageous in our applications to show the state that, yes, we are serious. We do have these in our program plan. And, as city manager alluded to, they weren't, but that was just because from a funding standpoint, we just couldn't make the puzzle pieces fit. With 80% funding coming from outside, it's a lot easier to make those puzzle pieces fit.
Appreciate it, thank you.
So, Mr. Rabi, if I understand this, then these would be asphalt overlay only and not concrete, is that right?
Correct.
And do we use the PAH in our asphalt? I'm sorry, I don't even recall what it stands for, but
Polyaromatic hydrocarbons is what
Yes,
the acronym
that.
stands for. We don't have any asphalt, it's, Northeast Asphalt. To be honest, I don't know what's all in their formulation. I would suspect at this point there are no PAHs, but I cannot confirm that.
Sure, and then when we're talking about that there's no fiscal impact, is this, I think some of our residents sometimes refer to this as just kind of like Band-Aid type fix on roads, and that, we end up having to repeatedly do the asphalt overlays. Is there maybe some future costs that we're just not looking at right now?
In this particular case with this resolution, the reason we're saying there's not a fiscal impact to this resolution is because as we bring the plan back forward for approval next year, that's when we'll identify all of the fiscal side of it. Certainly an asphalt overlay project does not have the life expectancy of a new concrete street. But given the scope of work that we are looking at, I would expect easily 20 to 25-year life out of these projects.
This is different than those asphalt hot mix program that we've done in recent years. That we don't have a lot of asphalt streets, but because of these are going to be full rehabilitations.
Yeah, this would be, the asphalt overlay program that we do on an annual basis is literally just overlaying asphalt. This would be pulverizing the existing pavement to create new base course patching where it would be necessary, and then these would probably have a full 5 inches of asphalt installed on them because these are functionally classified collector arterial streets, so they do see a higher volume of traffic. Our regular asphalt overlay program is typically done on residential streets, and it is more of a short-term Band-Aid that our streets division is doing. These projects would be construction projects managed by the Department of Transportation, so all DOT specification and facilities development manual requirements would need to be followed.
Councilmember Miller.
Thank you, Mayor. So James, in short, for the folks at home, you and your team found 80% of the money outside of our tax base. I mean, we all know we're paying for this in some form or fashion, but at least it's 80% not direct cost to our citizens. Is that accurate?
If we are approved for these projects through the bipartisan infrastructure law, that is an 80-20, 80% federal, state, 20% local. So it's.
Great job. Keep it up. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. No other questions? Please call the roll.
Hanson,
Aye.
Miller,
Aye.
Wojciechowski,
Aye.
Erickson,
Aye.
Mugrower,
Aye.
Palmieri,
Aye.
carried 6-0.
And we'll move on to Resolution 22-133, approve general development plan for mixed-use development for properties located on the east side of South Main Street. Plan Commission recommends approval.
Madam Mayor, we
Yes.
do have someone under,
Yes? Yes, please come forward.
Jake Bunn.
This side over here.
Oh, that's it.
Yep. Name and address as you approach, please. Thanks.
Jake Buns, 1818 Parmenter Street.
Into the mic. Thanks.
Jake Buns, 1818 Parmenter Street in Middleton, Wisconsin. So just, I was here a few months back, kind of giving you guys just a general overview of this project when we kind of kicked it off, or right after we had been selected for the RFP. But I work for T-Wall Enterprises. We're working on the Mill on Main project over in the Sawdust District. So just to refresh your guys' memories, it's a multi-phase project, 3 buildings plus a clubhouse for residents. These are all 5-story buildings with 1 level of underground parking. The first floor will also have covered parking as well. Buildings A1, I don't know if the site plan, oh, here it is, the site plan's up there. The 2 buildings on the left side, A1 and A2, are mixed-use buildings. So they'll have first floor retail space along South Main Street, and then a riverfront restaurant right along the city's proposed Riverwalk where Pioneer Drive is now. Building A3, which is down in the bottom right-hand corner there, is just a multifamily building. All the buildings are 5 stories. So the general development plan, this current plan, site plan you have in front of you, is approximately 291 units and 22,000 square feet of retail, commercial, restaurant space. It has about 321 covered parking stalls, and as I mentioned, that's underground and at grade. And then an additional 137 surface parking stalls, and you can kind of see the parking lot in the middle of the site. We wanted to bring the parking off the South Main Street and East 9th so that, you know, it gives that nice retail facade as you're driving along and you can see the retail stores. The apartments themselves will be studios, 1-bedrooms, 2-bedrooms, and 3-bedroom units. Some of the 1-bedroom and 2-bedroom units will have, we call them den features. So I think in the COVID climate, what we've seen with our residents is a bunch of them are working from home. So we've kind of started putting a den, which is basically just another bedroom, a little smaller for people to put a desk or their office in there. It just accommodates that work from home culture. The site plan we really wanted to design so it has plenty of amenities not only for our residents but for the public and the Oshkosh community. So you'll see, so specific to our residents, so private amenities, they'll have access to the private clubhouse in the middle of the site, and they have a pool and a hot tub, grilling stations, fitness room in there, and a club room with a kitchen type for events if they want to host events and whatnot. We'll have pickleball courts and plenty of bike parking indoor and outdoor. In terms of amenities that our residents and the public will have access to is the large green space along the future Riverwalk you can see there. We've considered putting in a small amphitheater or potentially an ice rink in the green space during the winter. That's kind of in between that little half circle. There's going to be a dog park that's not shown on this site plan, but to the southeast of building A3. So that'll be open to the public and our residents as well. But the general goal of what we're trying to accomplish with this development is we really want to make it inclusive to the public and make it a catalyst for the Sawdust District itself. So it's very an open site plan. We tried to maximize the green space along the river walk. So people who are out biking, walking their dogs, whatnot, can come enjoy our site and shop at the retailers and the commercial space along South Main and East 9th there. Enjoy the restaurant right on Main Street, the Riverwalk. We're hoping to get some boat slips. We've been in talks with Mark and Kelly and Jason over in the Economic Development Department, thinking about getting some public boat slips so people can enjoy the site as well. We really think it's going to be a great development. We think it's going to bring people to the Sawdust District and bring disposable income to the Sawdust District. So, those residents that live there can support the retail shops and other stores nearby. So we're really excited about it, and if you guys have any questions for me, I'd be happy to answer them.
I do have one, one question. This came up, in the commercial spaces, will you have any, I guess, sliding scale or any kind of allocation for nonprofit space usage in there too? I don't know, art galleries or other
Yeah.
service type?
Yeah, so we actually have had some interest in the commercial spaces, which is great, for something that, hasn't been necessarily approved yet or built, so that's fantastic. But we haven't limited the commercial spaces to anything. We're open to any sort of user. I will say that we like to pick users, I don't want to say we're selective, but we like to pick users that make it, like a community, like where you can go eat, shop, play. We don't want to pick a user that, isn't going to fit within the space. Say like there's a coffee shop or restaurant and a clothing store, and then right smack in the dab in the middle is maybe an insurance office or something like that, where people aren't really using the space as well. But and we're open to anything, but that's kind of what we've seen has worked at a few of our other mixed-use developments in Middleton and Madison. So it's a formula for success. But yeah.
Okay. Any other council members have questions? Well, thanks for coming up.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it.
Great. Any more discussion then on 22-133?
I don't think you got a motion to
We
approve
need a
yet.
motion, please.
Oh,
I'll
please.
make a motion to approve.
Second?
Now discussion? All right, please call the roll.
Hanson,
Aye.
Miller,
Aye.
Wojciechowski,
Aye.
Erickson,
Aye.
Mugrower,
Aye.
Palmieri,
Aye.
carried 6-0.
All right, and now the much-awaited Resolution 22-134, adopt Oshkosh Housing Needs Assessment and Strategy Plan. Plan Commission recommends approval. This has been desired since, I think I've been on the council since 2016 and prior, so here we are.
I'll move approval.
Second.
Discussion. Councilmember Erickson.
Thanks. I just wanted to say thank you to staff and the consultants for all of the time and effort on this. I was able to serve on the technical committee, and I think just seeing this process unfold over the last year, I think, or more than that, it's been a lot of work, but I think this gives us a really good starting point, and I'm looking forward to figuring out with council and staff how to make this reality, how to actually implement the policies that are laid out in the plan. So, thank you.
Yes, it's a really very thorough and certainly a more contemporary plan, and I agree with Councilmember Erickson. The implementation piece, lots of questions there, and I'll save that for later, but certainly many of our partners who have been looking forward to this are digesting and seeing how they can play a role. All right, if we have no further discussion, please call the roll.
Hanson,
Aye.
Miller,
Aye.
Wojciechowski,
Aye.
Erickson,
Aye.
Mugrower,
Aye.
Palmieri,
Aye.
carried 6-0.
All right, and we are at council discussion and direction to city manager, future agenda items.
I will only add that at the end of Mr. Lyons' memo regarding the housing study, we would be looking at scheduling a workshop about the implementation side of the housing plan. We'll wait until the new council's seated, and then we'll do that. So after the reorganization meeting, we'll be back to council on what works well for you.
All right, very good. And council member announcements and statements. Do we have any reports from council liaisons? All right, and city manager announcements and statements.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I have a handful of things tonight. First off, Just an update with the Community Development Block Grant for Day-by-Day Warming Shelter. That's the grant that council did approve in the CDBG plan for day-by-day to acquire the property. A lot of things are going on right now, most of it not having anything to do with the city, but there's still activity there. I was asked a question, with a legitimate question, why isn't the approval of the land sale on the agenda? That may not be the only option available to day by day. They've decided that they want the site on CP. However, because of, fortunate of the county receiving a grant from the state that could potentially pay for all of their construction, they, number one, have to get the county to approve that. I just received a notice this afternoon. It looks like county board's taking it up next week. So that's one thing. They're also seeking financing in the interim between the time that they presumably get the county grant and they want to start getting bids out. So whatever works out best for them, there may be an opportunity. And so City Attorney Lawrenson and Community Development Director Nyforth talked with me last week. They found me on vacation. And we had a discussion, and what council approved was CDBG funds to help them get that property. So they didn't tell us, the council's direction wasn't exactly how to do it, so it's up to us to do the how. We very well could have them purchase the property directly from the housing authority. We did acquire an option to make sure that we could secure the property, because council had already authorized us securing it, but we haven't acted on it. It might be in their better interest to acquire the property directly, and then we would give them a grant for the same amount of money, the $150,000. So that's why there's no action at this time. We may find something out on Tuesday. I keep looking at Councilmember Lawrence or Councilmember Hanson.
You got promoted.
Erickson.
Or Demo.
Been writing it down. I'm still in vacation mode. I'm really sorry about that. But we're going to find out Tuesday if they award it. That may speed things up for day by day. I know they want to open bids very soon in April. If we still need to acquire it, the goal would be to perhaps put it on the agenda next week with the special meeting that the city clerk has requested, if we need to do it that way. So either way, but we're waiting to see what happens with the county at this point. That was a big one, so I don't want to dismiss it, and I see Tina in the audience, so if there's any questions, I'm certainly happy to answer anything regarding that, because several council members called me and said, what's going on? I just wanted to get everybody on the same page.
So it's a timing issue with our regular meeting schedule and these other what-if items.
Yeah, I think we're still going to be.
Tuesday, County Board.
Tuesday, County Board.
Thursday was,
Tomorrow, you mean?
no, next
Next
Thursday
Thursday,
was,
that's the potential. So we have later on about
For
scheduling.
special meeting.
Scheduling a special meeting.
Okay.
I'd prefer it, everybody look at their calendars. We only need 4 for what Jesse's looking at, but this one is a bigger deal, and I don't want to dismiss the importance of that issue. So there's that one. The other item, I didn't have a chance to get you the memo, so I'm going to basically summarize the memo on the bids for the Parks building, and then I'll forward you this memo that Mr. Van Gompel and Mr. Mauer have prepared. The bids were open last week for the Parks Department's operation facility. Excuse me, it was on March 10th. It was just before I left. 3 bids were received. The low bid was $8,943,500. We were expecting more in the mid-5s. We got in the upper 8s. That's what's going on these days. That's what the school district incurred. That's what we got kind of with the Four Seasons shelter, just not as much sticker shock. Big sticker shock. This takes the total project cost to approximately $10.1 million. That still includes a 5% contingency. So, and 5% at $10 million is $500,000. So there's still quite a bit there. Council approved borrowing of $1.5 million in 2021 and $5.1 in 2022 for a total of $6.6 for this project. So we're short of about $3.5 million. Mr. Van Gompel, who is prepared to give you a little more detail if you want it, we think we only need to get a gap of about less than 3 million to pull this off. Mr. Van Gompel believes that we can do that through additional borrowing, but that's up to you. And certainly, I think Russ can give you some details on it. I'm giving it to you now because I want you to soak it in and everything, but we plan to come to council on the 26th of April for our annual borrowing. So before that, we want to award the bids. We were not prepared to give you a recommendation on the bids tonight. I didn't want to just say, here it is, vote. That just wouldn't be fair to you guys. What I'd like to do is get you the memo so you can get that. You can talk to Russ, talk to Ray about questions you might have. And then what we would do is on April 12th, come to council. And first, if you're inclined to do the borrowing, the extra borrowing, we would amend the CIP to say, yes, the higher number is something that you're okay with, then award the bid. And then subsequent to that, we'd come back for the borrowing. If that's not something you do, then we will keep the borrowing at the 20 million as originally directed by council. We took a look at different options, and Russ, I guess this is time for, because we had discussions about what different things we could do. One of the things that we had talked about with the Four Season building was Pratt Trail. Ms. Nyforth has done some research. We're going to be going to the Joint Review Board, and that's how Russ is keeping some of this borrowing down. We're going to recommend that Pratt Trail be funded with TIF 14 funds, which would be eligible for with an amendment from the Joint Review Board. So we'll be seeking an amendment from the Joint Review Board. What else did I miss, Russ, or is there anything to add?
I think you covered everything. In light of the bid prices, I did talk to our financial advisors at Elders. And right now, we have planned to increase the borrowing for the full roughly $3.6 million more that is needed, which would bring that funding for the Parks building up to $8.7 million. Then the total borrowing package on that would exceed the prior authorization or direction of council, I should say, to just under $23 million, $22,950,000. What that does to the tax rate, and just looking at it, is about 40 cents more on the taxes than what we originally planned. So it'd be a higher tax rate for the life of the debt. The hard part on this debt is the building for administrative purposes can only be amortized over 10 years, but the portion of the building that's for equipment can be amortized over 20 years. So the office part, which is about 16% of the project, has to be amortized over a shorter lifeline or 10 years. The amortization of the remaining 84%, it can be amortized over 20 years, so that helps out in spreading the debt. And like the city manager said, our plan right now is to present to you our 2022 borrowing with an initial resolution on April 26th, so you have time to think about whether or not that option is palatable to you or not, or if you want to look at other options for funding, or if you want to look at other cuts.
What was the value engineering that was done, if any, like at this number?
I know that the Parks Director, who's not here this evening, obviously, is working with the architects to try to look at some of those options. I was just looking at worst case scenario, what we needed to do to fund it based on the base bid and the alternatives that they thought they needed to do the project correctly. So you'll have that discussion, I think, next week when you talk about the bids, and you should have that discussion then.
They're kicking around some ideas that wouldn't be part of the base bid award, but we would come back. What we would do is the savings we would get from any value engineering, we could apply the borrowing, because we're doing the borrowing on the maximum amount to cover ourselves. We could apply that borrowing to next year's borrowing, and then we just lower our borrowing for 23. So we've done that a couple times when we borrowed more than we actually needed.
Councilmember Miller.
Thank you, Mayor. Russ, more globally, not just this specific, you're more than well aware of what's going on in the financial markets and everything, and what the Fed is signaling for rate increases this year. What, are we speeding up our processes with Ellers? Are we doing, and it's a dumb question, I know you are, but I mean, are we doing everything physical possible to get locked in on what's available to us today? I
Well,
mean,
that's why I think I wanted to remind you on the schedule that we have, and there's a lot of preliminary work that's gone into it. So we do pre-sale reports, and we look at the projects we have to fund, and then we have to get that through our bond council and get their okay for it, and to prepare those documents. So as we speak, I'm having documents prepared under the worst-case scenario, because it's easier to scale back than it is to add, because your authorization will be not to exceed a certain dollar amount. Without having direction from you, I directed Ellers to do as quickly as they can, but it's kind of the same schedule we've done in the past, but we're doing everything we can to get that completed in an expedient manner in light of the market, yeah.
But I think you were getting at, the rates are only going to go wrong.
they're going the wrong way for us.
So, I mean, we debated about, do we do this now? And it's like, we're not going to get better rates. We might get slightly better bids, but we're not going to get better rates.
Right.
If I may, just to add to that, that's some of the rationale in my thought process to at least ask for you to go up to $22.9 million, because number one, we have other projects that we're trying to finance. And number two, if we don't finance projects this year, we have 2 years to spend, so we can use it to finance, as the city manager said, projects next year. So I would hope you'd give that favorable consideration, because as you mentioned, the market certainly is not going in the right direction for long-term rates.
Especially in a real short period of time, we're going to see some big leaps here in our cost of funds. I mean, can we give him the flexibility to do that tonight? I mean.
It's not an action item.
Okay.
Our goal is to read your faces, put it on the next agenda. We're doing the bid award at the next meeting anyway.
No, I'm not worried about the bid award, but I want to give him the flexibility and keep these issues.
Not tonight.
Maybe a little separate,
In all due respect, the process is really in the hands of our bond council right now.
Right.
And we're meeting all the required notifications and timelines, so we're doing it as quickly as we can. The schedule right now is to present that to you on April 26th. And I don't think we can advance that schedule based on all of the preliminary work that has to get done to issue the debt.
We've had this schedule for the debt for quite a while. Russ has been working on this. We're trying to get the decision made on the parks to align with our borrowing.
Right.
So we'll be
Yep.
okay.
Just one other question, and that is, the scale of the project, I know we've already been through this, has that been looked at as far as revisiting the needs and what could be done without exceeding the dollar amount?
I know that, and again, I don't like to speak for somebody else, but I do know that other options were explored as far as construction materials and type of materials. I believe when they went through the space study, they're pretty honed in on the space needs for the building. I think what we were looking at is whether or not other materials could be used as far as, precast concrete versus, poured in place and those type of things. Again, I'm not an architect, I'm just giving you my financial advice for it, but the Parks Director would be the appropriate person to ask that question.
But he's been having ongoing discussions with Cooney Architects, and the space analysis was done to meet our current needs, but we're also consolidating to be more efficient. We're getting the forestry people and the cemetery people in one place so that they can be deployed in different directions. They aren't just going to be working at the cemetery. In the past, we had cemetery people that just did that, but we have more flexibility having, it's like, look, we have a need over here today at Menominee Park. We can roll everybody over to Menominee Park. And there's the advantage of putting everybody together, and that's what the space needs study did. You'll see in the bid specs, which I will provide you with those in advance since we already have them. I'll throw that in with the memo that Mr. Van Gompel and Mr. Mauer prepared. In there, you'll see, for example, some bins. And I asked the question because I know we've had this discussion, Madam Mayor, can't they borrow some bins from Public Works? Public Works doesn't have bins for example, mulch and dirt. If they ever need mulch or dirt, which is very rare, they take it from Parks. Parks, if they need rock or anything, they take it from Public Works. So they have their specialty things. Those bins, they sound really simple. Those bins are $200,000. And you're going to see that as something in the bid spec. So
I think we talked about the future expansion space that was over there too at the public garage.
yeah, and that's, if you take a look at it, it's pretty well full up right now. So it's been meeting its needs, although for the next couple years, Parks is moving in some of those areas, and they're moving things outside, they're doing things to accommodate that. But they're pretty much full up. I know Ray, admin staff is going over to the old water distribution building, and Ray and other folks are going up to the second floor of the Public Works building where storage is. So they're basically gonna move things and stack up. So James saw that, because Public Works has been doing the most cooperation with Parks in terms of the temporary thing, but they're pretty full up.
Yeah, we've moved some of our equipment out of some of our buildings so that they can get some of their more sensitive equipment in. As the city manager indicated, an upstairs area in our building has been kind of cleared out, and some temporary cubicles and data jacks and things have been put in for some of the staff to be there. Ray and his admin assistant are moving over to the water distribution building where there was a little bit of room. So we've kind of spread them out all the way across several of our facilities to make room during the construction for them.
Any other questions? All right, thanks.
Thank you. I have outstanding issues in there. I will be, full disclosure, I did not review this last week, so it's largely a repeat of the last one, so I don't really have any highlight to point out with that one, but you'll see that we did add the environmental justice resolution, and the SAB made a revision, and they're forwarding it to DEI for a review as well. So that's on its way. Then the big one, and Jesse, our city clerk, might have some additional feedback on this, but with the polling place changes, we're promoting that. It's right on the front of our website. The Dropbox update, where we can no longer accept ballots at the Dropbox right outside City Hall. Ms. Balcom and her staff have been, dealing with the feedback and trying to explain that it wasn't our doing, but I don't know, Jesse, if you got anything to add with that.
Right, I would just request that if anybody asks, or you can get the word out, to please either bring their ballot into the city clerk's office personally, or they can take it to their polling location the day of the election personally. You have to bring your own ballot, or throw it in the mail to us. Please, don't put it in the Dropbox.
And just a reminder, there is a U.S. Postal Dropbox right in front of City Hall, but that might take a little longer.
Right, you
Right.
need to, if you're going to put it in the mail, please do it as soon as you can.
And with that said, the last item, which I want to explain a little bit, or maybe defer to Ms. Balcom on this, is the special council meeting to do amended city ward maps. This has to do with the state redoing the districts for the Assembly and Congress, and that changed a few things, and they sprung it on every municipality. This isn't, they didn't pick on just Little Oshkosh, they did it to everybody. So Jesse was scrambling to get Jeff Now, our GIS mapping person, to really update the maps. I would have loved to have had him for you tonight, but when did you get the notice, Jesse?
March 17th,
So, yeah, good luck on St. Patrick's Day. We got it on Thursday.
Thursday, yes.
So Thursday, the agenda was already pretty much done. Asking Jeff to get those maps done, they're not even done yet.
No,
I couldn't have even sprung them on you at 6 o'clock tonight, so we're not ready for it, but I think your comfort zone, or Jeff's comfort zone, I guess, really more so, is
Thursday, Friday, March 31st, April 1st. We're kind of in a bit of a quagmire because we have to have this done by statute by April 10th because people need to know where they can circulate their papers by April 15th. However, the election is April 5th. So it can't be entered into the system until after the election because otherwise that'll mess up our poll books and all that great stuff. But it has to be in by the 10th. So we've got this lovely mini window. And last time I talked to Jeff, he was hopeful that he could have his portion and stuff ready for you guys to review by that Thursday or Friday.
So we're looking at next Thursday or Friday, the 31st or the 1st.
Fingers crossed.
And I would ask that if you take a look at your schedule, I can have Diane follow up if you'd like. But we're probably looking, I mean, we've done noon meetings sometimes. I know for some of you who work out of town, that might be difficult. For this, we only need 4. We're just adopting what the state is telling us to adopt. So I'm not dismissing the importance of all 7 of you, but we only need 4 to take action.
Right.
And we might be doing something with day by day, depending on what happens, and we'll make that call. So we could do something at 5 o'clock, like on Thursday. I don't know what, any
Or a
preference?
noon on Thursday even?
Pardon?
Did you say a noon on Thursday was also a possibility?
It would certainly, let's see. I might have a conflict, but I don't think I necessarily need to be here. So noon on Thursday or Friday. I wouldn't suggest 5 o'clock on a Friday. I'm never gonna do that unless I'm planning to have you fire me at the same meeting. So 5 o'clock on Thursday, or 5 o'clock or later on Thursday, whatever suits you. I'm just looking for some input. I'm getting a lot of blank looks, so I'm not sure. Any thoughts?
I know that Councilmember Wojciechowski works out of town, just trying to figure out.
That's all right, if you only need 4.
I'm available either day at almost any time, so don't worry about me in any fashion.
Do you want to try Thursday at 5, unless something weird happens with the maps?
Yeah, Thursday at 5 works.
Okay.
Thursday at 5.
Bill?
Very good.
That work for you? Oh, okay.
Mr. Lyons says we'll get them done.
Well, 4 of us, okay.
Thank you.
City Attorney, I don't know if Councilmember Wojciechowski and I will need to perhaps consult outside of this, whether we can participate in this vote.
I do.
I missed what's
Would it be
the
a
question?
conflict of interest since both of us are going to be running for?
Oh, no.
Okay.
This is ministerial,
This-
largely.
Yeah.
I've been through that before, so I knew the question, I knew, it was a bit,
Yeah.
I knew the question and I knew the answer from 30 years ago, so.
Okay.
That's all I have, Madam Mayor.
All right. Take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We are adjourned.